Let's be honest, everyone. Last week's games were pretty lame. We were sitting around trying to make them entertaining, and we were like, ooh, a blowout. Ooh, a second blowout. Ooh, a third blowout. And really, we were just making up hype for some of those things. But that's okay, because this week, we don't have to make up hype, because these games were actually insane. There were wide receivers dropping dimes. There were legendary upsets, defensive scores, cornerbacks getting mossed, quarterbacks catching touchdowns, and a kicker getting KO'd on the field. That is a wild week. We also got huge injury news, huge trade news. This is way too much for us to possibly cover in a single podcast, so we're about to cover it in a single podcast. Let's get it going. First up, we're going to pick our 3 best games of the week and tell you what happened. Up first, Packers, Cardinals. Zach, take us away.
So, what did I say last week, y'all? Packers over Cardinals. Packers over Cardinals. I also said Lions over Eagles, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So let's think about this, because it is kind of crazy to think that the Packers actually did beat the Cardinals. Packers didn't have Devontae Adams. They also didn't have Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Alan Lazard. They didn't have any of their major contributors at wide receiver. And also, weirdly enough, the Packers are 7-0 without Devontae Adams. So,
worst player in the NFL.
I know, right?
The least important wide receiver I've ever seen.
Good thing he's on the last year of his contract. Get him out of there.
Yeah, get him out of there. No, seriously, though, good for the Packers, though, because at the very least, they did have Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb looked like that, 2014, 2013 Randall Cobb that was really busting moves on people. Second big factor here, the Cardinals had some big defensive injuries and offensive injuries. J.J. Watt with that torn pectoral and his bicep and the whole entire thing's just all jacked up on his right arm, I think. And then DeAndre Hopkins had that hamstring injury. And then the first-round pick for the Cardinals, Zaven Collins, also ended up leaving halfway through the game. So defense was kind of banged up. Offense was kind of banged up. Kyler Murray got hurt later in the game too. It's kind of been, it was like that recipe for a disaster, but like a beautiful disaster because I called it. So with that said, I promise I'm going to stop doing that soon. I'm just going to humble brag a little more. But with that said, really what it came down to was the Packers dominated the ground game. I mean, they ended up having, 34 carries for 151 yards. I mean, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones kind of looked like, I don't know if you guys remember Lendale White and Chris Johnson back in the day, where they were both just lighting people up in totally different ways, and it was wonderful to see.
Why is it always when there's a 2-back tandem, it's always thunder and lightning, by the way?
It's just got to be. That's them the rules, bro. Them the rules. But, I mean, out of the 151 total rushing yards that they had, 100 came after contact. 100. That means that 60% of those rushing yards, 66% approximately, came after these running backs were already hit. So, maybe the Packers should put the game on their running backs more often, too. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm saying.
I mean, have you seen A.J. Dillon's quads?
They're insane. They're as big as my torso, and I'm fat. So that's not fair. Another big factor was the Cardinals' receivers. And ultimately, that may have been what lost the Cardinals the game. So Rondale Moore had pretty much 2 fumbles. I mean, he dropped a pass that turned into a pick, and he also muffed a punt. I mean, he's a rookie, so yeah, you can make excuses for him. But at the end of the game, when Rasul Douglas got that interception in the end zone, you cannot make excuses for A.J. Green, who's like a 10-year NFL vet. A man's just ran to do a fade route in the back of the corner of the end zone, right? And as he goes, he doesn't turn around. He's the only person not expecting the football when the only person who was going to get the football was A.J. Green. It was really disappointing to see if you were a Cardinals fan. And I'm partial to the Cardinals, so I was a little upset, other than the fact that I thought that they were going to lose and said it on this podcast. So that's why I was happy that they lost. The Packers didn't turn the ball over. The Packers also just in general looked like a better team. And that's without saying. The Cardinals have made a nasty habit of keeping teams in the game. And Kyler had to play hero ball. And, man, I don't know what it is, but there's just something with the eye test with this Cardinals team that they don't look ready yet. Maybe they'll be ready by the end of the year, but they still don't look ready to be the best team in the NFL. Cliff Kingsbury is a terrible coach. People have been wanting him to get fired for a while, and that's not a joke. I know 2 Cardinals fans who actually do want him to. So it's anecdotal, but that is 100% of the Cardinals fans I know. So I'm assuming
2 out of 2. Yeah, 2 out of 2, man.
100% wants him to get fired.
Statistically significant sample size, right?
It is absolutely. So Cliff is, he just was never able to adjust to the NFL game properly. If you were to take somebody like, as Sergi pointed out in some of the information here ahead of time, if you were to take Joe Brady from Carolina and put him as the head coach in Arizona very well could be one of the best teams in the history of the NFL when it comes to their offense. The amount of talent that they have is bananas. But now you have Kyler, who's got this potential 1-game absence, maybe even a 3-game absence if the ankle is in rough shape. If there's too much swelling, if the injections don't help. So the Cardinals are going to be scrapping here for a little bit, and they really got to hope that their run game can pick it up and that Kyler doesn't do what he did last year, which is play through an injury and made him worse and less effective. So that's a little bit of that there. Did you guys have anything to say about the Packers Cardinals game?
I just wish they would free Chase Edmonds. It is a crime that man is getting 10 touches a game. He is so good. It's just he's so small, and it breaks my heart because I want to see him succeed, but I know that if he gets 15 carries a game, he's only playing 3 or 4 games a season.
Man, don't tell that to Jamal Charles though. Don't tell it to Alvin Kamara either. Those guys, they're
Alvin
smaller
Kamara's
and
got
they
like
play those games.
He's got like 15 pounds on Chase Edmonds. Okay.
No, he doesn't. Chase Edmonds is what, like 205 or something?
Maybe.
Chase Edmonds definitely looks like a superstar every time he gets the ball and just constantly breaking it open. And for whatever reason, he's just very snap limited. So that's unfortunate. But, as far as the Kyler Murray injury goes, sometimes your second quarterback is the best quarterback on the field. And for those of you that watch the Cowboys Vikings game, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Because guess what? Cooper Rush is a stud. Yes, he missed passes all game. Yeah, he threw a lot of really dangerous throws. And yes, that Amari Cooper catch was pure luck and should have been an interception, but none of that matters. Because he is a backup, and he just yoinked a win from the Vikings. 60% completion, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 1 interception because the other 5 got dropped or bounced off or some lucky scenario bailed him out. Doesn't matter. Cooper Rush is a stud. Let's look at the breakdown of how this game unfurled because I don't know about you guys. I was not expecting the Cowboys to win that once I heard that Prescott was not playing, but better quarterback won, right? Kirk Cousins, prime time, 6 for 13, under 33%. He has under a 1/3 win rate in prime time. How is this man going to take you in the playoffs when he can't win in the spotlight? Ask him Washington.
You should just ask Washington fans, man. Yeah.
The Vikings offense mustered 177 passing yards, 4.6 yards per play, by the way. That's kind of low for those of you that don't know. And they went, here's the kicker, 1 for 13 on third down conversions. And guess where that one was? On their first drive. After their first drive, they did not convert on third down for the rest of the game. Kirk, what are you doing? Not only that, but there were even mishaps of just managing the clock. At the end of the first half, Kirk Cousins, I don't know if he called an audible and he was speaking a different language, like he was speaking French or Chinese, but all of his team ran the wrong way. And then Kirk's like, oh no, reverse. And then everyone's like running back and forth trying to figure out. They have a timeout, by the way. And I'm just watching this clock go from like 20 to 10 to 0. And then they have to take a knee after I don't understand what was happening. I feel like the 2-minute drill is practiced way too often for something like that to happen. That was a complete mismanagement. They had a timeout. They had time. There's no excuse for not having opportunities for a touchdown or at least a field goal attempt at the end of the half. And guess what? When you lose by only 4 points, those opportunities matter. Dalvin Cook pretty much didn't do a whole lot in the first half. For those that have him in fantasy football, congratulations. You probably lost this week. Despite having even higher efficiency in the second half, they stopped running him because the game script didn't favor it. The whole situation just went completely in the opposite direction of where the Vikings wanted this game to go. They had 2 less turnovers than the Cowboys did, and they got 2 more sacks. And yet none of this mattered because of the raw level of incompetence on the Vikings offense. They couldn't take advantage of everything. Now, the other factor is that sometimes luck is on your side. And when we're talking about that stud, Cooper Rush, man, is he lucky. He threw a ball that literally hit Breland in the chest. He hit the Vikings cornerback in the chest, and this ball bounces into the path where Amari Cooper is running and gives them some miraculous first down to extend the drive. They say it's better to be lucky than good, and Cooper Rush is definitely leaning towards the lucky side, especially last night. And then Zeke, on a 3rd down, or a 4th down, I can't even remember. It might have been it was a 3rd down. They were going to have to take a field goal. Zeke catches it and goes through 4 Viking defenders to get a first down. I'm sorry, which of you 4 would like to tackle the ball carrier? Would any of the 4 of you like to do that? This is kind of an important play here. Because guess what? By not stopping him, they don't have to kick a field goal. They get a touchdown, and they win the game. I honestly would not be surprised if the Vikings just start dumping coaches and players. This team has way too much talent and way too much skill in these different positions to continue to be this bad and to underperform like this. I'm sad. I'm sad for Kirk. Yeah. I know you're not, Zach. And you had a couple comments as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I saw there were 2 things that I had seen. One was like one of the most perfect tweets that I've ever seen regarding a team. And this is by one of my favorite, writers on Twitter / NBC Sports Edge. His name's Thor Nystrom. And because of his name is Thor, of course, he's a Vikings fan. So he was extra salty. But he tweeted out, "The coach is anti-progress. The quarterback is anti-vax and anti-throw past the sticks on 3rd down. The OL is anti-block. The defense is anti-stop the pass. The kicker is anti-clutch. The front office is anti-plan for the future." And all I thought to myself was, he understands the pain of a Washington fan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, he's correct on all of those fronts. And also from a less comical perspective, Harrison Smith did one of the dirtiest things I think I've ever seen somebody do on the field. He put CeeDee Lamb in a chokehold.
Yeah.
And he was actually trying to choke him to the point where CeeDee Lamb was trying to smack his arm out to get himself out.
Yeah.
That is one of the most egregious things I think I've ever seen on the field, dating back to somebody like Vontaze Burfict. And for those of you who don't know, Vontaze Burfict in college physically choked another player on another team in the middle of a pile up. I was going to say a scrum, but this isn't rugby. So he had him at the bottom of the pile. He choked the guy. He got suspended for a week. Some reason he still ends up in the Bengals because the Bengals are the Bengals.
Myles Garrett is typing.
Hey, I will stand up for Myles Garrett before I stand up for Harrison Smith right now, personally. Even though he did successfully hit Mason Rudolph in the head with a helmet.
Okay.
He did try and kill a man on the football field, but
all stuff aside, though, seriously, Harrison Smith, that was absolutely disgusting to see that on the field. He should be suspended at a minimum. He won't be, but he should be.
Yeah. All right, Sergi, tell us about your game of the week.
All right, I have got the Saints and the Bucks. Now, if I told you at the start of the week, hey guys, Jameis Winston's going to tear his ACL in the first quarter, I don't think anyone would have given the Saints a ghost of a chance for winning this game. And also praying for Jameis's recovery. I hope he comes back strong next year. He didn't seem too down. I don't know if you all saw the video of Saints Club Dub after the win. Jameis was there bouncing on one leg, dancing with crutches. So the man still knows how to have a good time despite a season-ending injury. So good on him. But Trevor Siemian came in and managed the game. Winston's done for the season. Taysom Hill time starting next week, but that's besides the point. Looking back at this game, what really did the trick for that, it was the Saints, 2 things. It was the Saints defense and it was the Saints run game. Now, the Bucks have one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. No one has been able to run on them all year, and that is exactly what the Saints did. I think the Saints ran the ball about 27 times. 27 times. against the Buccaneers this week, and they ran it for 5.2 or 5.4 clip. No one has been able to run on the Bucs like they did. Granted, it wasn't any one player. I mean, Alvin Kamara carried the load. Mark Ingram was there. Deontay Harris had a couple good ones. Jameis Winston's big run kind of inflated the stats. They were able to run the ball that opened up the pass lanes that actually let Trevor Siemian, albeit off his back foot every single time, fading away from the football, complete passes across the middle and short stuff. And they were able to move the ball even without Winston on the field. Now, the Saints defense is what really did the trick. They're, I think, the number 4 defense on the year. They have a great run defense, and, they let it be known. I think the Buccaneers ran the ball less than 10 times, and they have a great coverage unit, and they really shine today. I mean, they had a couple great plays. They actually managed to strip sack Brady with a 3-man rush, which was crazy. You don't see that very often, especially against that Bucs offensive line. It had a couple great picks, one by C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which was on a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin crossing route. He just jumped the route. And then P.J. Williams kind of got the game-sealing interception, pick 6. Same thing. It was a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin crosser. Chris Godwin didn't run the best route. P.J. Williams jumped in and picked the ball off. The narrative for beating Tom Brady, I feel like the narrative has always been, you put pressure on Tom Brady, you hit Tom Brady, you drop back, you cover, and you make him make mistakes. And that is what the Saints did. They
play perfect defense.
The way to beat Tom Brady is play perfect. Well, no, they didn't blitz the ball much. I mean, you saw when they blitzed Tom Brady, what did he do? Oh, he put it over the top to Mike Evans for like a 40-yard touchdown. So they didn't blitz. They got pressure with their defensive line. They dropped their guys back into coverage. I mean, they had they had 11 total pressures, 3 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 7 hurries. And you know what? They made Tom Brady lose the game. It was the Patrick Mahomes effect. They tried to eliminate the deep play where they could. They made Brady play across the middle, and their defensive backs actually proved superior, which you don't really normally see with Tom Brady. He eats that stuff up. The most important thing, though, I want to say that happened in this game was Kevin White actually caught a pass, which is crazy. I haven't seen a Kevin White appearance in like 2 years, but never better late than never. Zach, what was he, like the number 4 overall? No, he was like the number 5 or 6 overall pick.
7. Yeah, 7 to the Bears.
Oh my gosh, I remember when the conversation was who's going number 1, him or Amari Cooper, and that conversation that conversation turned out great. So it was a well-played game, well-coached game. And honestly, I really we got to start talking about giving Sean Payton the credit that he deserves. I mean, last year when Belichick and Brady separated, Belichick could not win football games. And I mean, apart from maybe one season with Matt Castle where they didn't make the playoffs too, Belichick cannot win football games without Tom Brady. This year, he finally has a quarterback in there and they're making something happen. But if it's Teddy Bridgewater under center, if it's Jameis Winston under center, if it's Taysom Hill under center, if it's Trevor Siemian under center against the Super Bowl champs, Sean Payton is able to coach a winning game. It was an all-around great effort by the Saints, and they knock off the Bucs. And you know what? I'm curious to see what this team does with Hill. It's going to be a different offense. I'm hoping Winston comes back, but it was a fun game to watch. It was a great back and forth, and ultimately the Saints managed to get the best of the GOAT.
Any head coach who's crazy enough to call an onside kick after halftime is crazy enough to win games with Trevor Siemian. Let's talk about some other notable games. Panthers recover from a 4-game losing streak and beat the Falcons 19-13, but another pretty unimpressive performance. Same thing, defense dominates, but Darnold might be concussed. We'll see if that hurts or helps them. Zach?
Stephon Gilmore signing paying off. I would have got the game-sealing interception there.
Yeah, man. No, it was nice to see him back and playing again. Like he's honestly, when he's on it. He's a master. Next up, 49ers beat the Bears 33-22. Both teams, kind of struggling to figure out who they are on offense, who they are even on defense to an extent, trying to understand what it is that they're doing. One young quarterback, one super mediocre quarterback with a young quarterback waiting in the wings. The difference was that the Niners just made big plays. Deebo Samuel was all over the field. I mean, he was awesome. He averaged like 30 yards a catch or 40 yards a catch or something along those lines. It was bananas to see. And Justin Fields, though, as a consolation prize for the Bears, my man's looked good.
Mm-hmm.
He finally made some plays. Yeah, he still took too many hits, but he finally made some plays and was doing the things that people expected him to be able to do. All they had to do was get rid of Matt Nagy. And I'm
Exactly.
telling you, man, like
Mhm.
take him out of there, just like Adam Gase. Get rid of him and see what happens. Serge, you got the next one, right?
Next up, we've got the Seahawks beating the Jags 31-7. I picked the Jags last week because I really thought they were putting something good together coming out of the bye. And then Urban Meyer was like, listen, man, you know how we have Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault? We're going to throw 12 targets to Jamal Agnew because that is the guy who needs to get the ball. I think that, I believe James Robinson went out pretty early. They lost their run game. They weren't really able to get anything going. But honestly, just I don't know if there was a worse coach team in the NFL than the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you're getting beaten 31-7 by Geno Smith, yeah, you know you have a problem. Also, if I could just, can Tyler Lockett please just pick a side? Because his fantasy production goes like this. Hi, you're going to completely forget about me this week and hate me, or I'm winning you your matchup.
Yep.
There's no in between. It's either 0 catches or somehow 12. So, Urban Meyer. I saw plenty of Urban Meyer Halloween costumes this past weekend. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I'm hoping that man gets fired after this year, because otherwise I'm worried about T-Law in the long term.
Yeah.
I think he's hoping he gets fired after the year is over.
he's trying really hard.
Trying
He is.
That USC job must look really good.
All right. Titans shut down a heroic comeback from the Colts and beat them 34-31 in overtime. We'll talk a little bit more about the epicness that led to overtime and we're going to call it intentional pick six. We'll get to that in a little bit, but Derrick Henry potentially with a season-ending foot injury. Broken toe, no timetable to return. That is going to be significant for the Titans. You know, we're calling them Titans. We used to call them the Tennessee Derrick Henrys. This changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still petitioning that we rename them the Tennessee A.J. Browns, because
he's going to be the workhorse now. Yeah, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Just to add a little piece to it. So he suffered a Jones fracture, and it's a breaking of the fifth metatarsal. And for him to actually fully heal, because like this is an injury that knocked Julio Jones out multiple times throughout his career. It effectively ended Josh Cribbs' career later in his career. So it's an injury he should be able to come back from, but if the Titans rush him back, it will be a problem. So here's to hoping that the King comes back, you know, when he's ready to. I'll get us to the next one. Pats, Chargers. I don't know what happened to the Chargers, but effectively over the last 3 weeks, I saw some crazy statistic that Justin Herbert's expected yards or expected points over earned. I don't know. It's some crazy statistic that, like, you know, NFL fantasy stat people love to see. Sergi, you would get along with him. Great. He's the worst in the league except for Sam Darnold over the last 3 weeks for his like actual effect on people. All it took was me being like, I love the Chargers. And then bam, that's it. They're done. They're dead. They're cursed.
It's the Battle of the Beltway curse. Rest in peace to the Panthers. Rest in peace to the Chargers.
Seriously. So, you know, Pats won 27-24. It was a close game. It was a competitive game. Mac Jones, Mac Daddy, looking like a real monster. And
Mr. McCorkle.
Dude, I don't think he's ever going to be more than what he is, but if he can continue to improve on what he is, and really, like, he could become, like, not a Tom Brady. He could be very much so a Drew Brees, though. And I believe that 100%.
There's nothing wrong with a guy who knows how to manage the game, make the right throws, and throw to the open guys.
Exactly.
Not everyone needs to put the whole team on their shoulders.
Yeah, Drew Brees had an okay career.
Yeah. First 4 years were kind of rough.
Next, we've got the Browns and Steelers. Oh my gosh,
Why'd you say the Browns like that?
Because I want it with contempt.
Yes.
Look, I am an AFC North fan, but more importantly, I'm a fan of football. So I want to see good football. So once again, when I see a team like the Cleveland Browns on paper, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. And the highlight of this game was probably Baker Mayfield getting tackled and getting up and getting fired up about it. Like cool, bro. You took a hit on the sideline. Like I'm really happy for him.
And you almost re-injured your shoulder for the 8th time. We're all impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very boring game. It was a slugfest. I mean, it was two teams' defenses trying to win, and the Steelers have a better defense, and they also have a guy on their team called Najee Harris, who is very, very good at carrying the ball 30 times a game. Oh my gosh, I'm very angry that he's in our division, but I like watching him play. And somehow, kudos to the Steelers for managing to win without a kicker, because for some reason Mike Tomlin was like, you know what we really need this early in the game? A fake field goal, and I want you to hold it for as long as you can. You know when that guy's like a yard away, that's when you throw it. And then they took a helmet to helmet, and he's out with a concussion. So it was probably the most boring game of the week. So good on them. Still the seller of the AFC North.
And probably the most exciting game of the weekend, the Jets upset the Bengals after a 14-point fourth quarter comeback by elite Jets quarterback number 5, Joe Mike White. The Bengals did get the short end of the stick on an absolutely atrocious penalty call for a helmet-to-helmet on Ty Johnson, where basically the defender is like a foot off the ground with his helmet trying to tackle his legs, and then Ty Johnson does some weird like I'm gonna bury my head in the sand move and like lowers his helmet down, and somehow that's a helmet-to-helmet on the defender, despite the fact that the defender was literally like aiming at the knees or ankles. So pretty questionable. Feel kind of bad for the Bengals. They definitely got robbed on that one, but you're not going to hear me complain.
I mean, I heard going into this week, someone mentioned that this just feels like a trap game. Oh, 100%. It's a backup quarterback on the worst team in the league coming in against the number 1 seed, and the Bengals decided to bungle. So I'm in the Raven, and it's great being a Ravens fan because we didn't even have to play this week to win. Awesome time.
And the Jets can only beat good teams. We figured that one out.